What's going on, y'all? It's Greg. Greg said it. Back with the inspiration motivation second of the day. We had a nice live today. Of course, Colorado has become bowl eligible for the first time, they say, since 2016. Well in advance. 4 games left. Right now, 6-2. And 1 conference loss. Hard loss. You remember we lost that game with 4 of our top receivers, had the game won, lost on the Hail Mary. Shouldn't have happened for a lot of different reasons. It wasn't because you wasn't the better team. People say the other team's a better team. It was an injured team, wasn't playing your best. And that's been kind of the theory a lot with Colorado. And of course, that's when I have my theory of the whole daytime buff versus nighttime buff. No, they're not perfect by any means, but they play with a different zeal, a different energy, a different intensity when they play during the day. And rightfully so. That's when they practice. And they have the right to do that. I mean, unfortunately for them, out of 8 games, they only had 2 days. I've talked about that. They have had 4 home games. Not one of them have been during the day. So it's my hope, like I've said 100 times, I'm going to keep saying, it's my hope that out of these 2 remaining home games, that at least be 1. I don't care what nobody say, that they're done with night games. Even though you would think that 6 night games is enough, I doubt that they haven't played their last night game, especially with these people throwing them up at the last minute. And I believe they have weaponized them. And it's up for Colorado to adjust, because clearly they don't want to give them day games, and clearly they see the difference. I do. Coach Prime has acknowledged it, and hopefully you do, if you actually pay attention. It's a different team. It's not an old UCF team. It's not an away team. It's simple in time. You have not had the right or the ability to compare the two, because they have not played any home day games for you to rightfully analyze, and I wonder why. So Colorado is a different team. I would love to see them play a day game in Texas. That will give them the advantage versus playing a night game down there. As people know, going down there tonight is a different environment. I would love to see them play in Kansas as a day game. I think they deserve the right. I mean, at this point, only 1/3 of their games has been day games. So I think they're overdue for some day games. But like I said earlier, I've seen them have all the remaining games from pretty much from USC on. They didn't play any more day games. I think they might have played somewhat of a day game against Oregon State, but pretty much everything else. And then Utah at the end, and they performed well against Utah, even without Shador in the game. So I think they got this thing figured out, because Colorado definitely is a threat, like I've said from the very beginning. If you follow Greg said it, you will know. If you ain't, you definitely be subscribed, because we get the real. It's been consistent. It's been accurate from day one, and definitely through the offseason of this season. We've talked about what Colorado should look like. I gave the 10-2 record because I said they shouldn't lose more than 2. And the 2 that they would is somebody make a slip up on them. That's their floor. That was the floor. That was the ceiling for some people, and other people refuse to give them any kind of credit. They'd be lucky they go 500. They go 6-6. They go 7-5. All that. I say I just don't see 5 teams can beat them. And I talked about all the talent they have. You got Shador, because nobody can rival him. You got Travis, nobody can rival him. Then we got these defensive line who can get after you at times. We just got a solid team in a conference that nobody say is good. You want to undermine them. So why does Colorado got to go and lose to these teams? It just makes no sense with the talent. And we saw the all-conference teams and all that. And I was like, it just makes no sense. I did my best to break it down. It's just like anything else. People don't want to listen. Their mind made up, or they just too programmed to understand. And I'm not. I'm just looking at the facts, not the TV talks. I'm not influenced by ESPN, not influenced by other content creators, whatever. Not like, I have my own analysis, and that's why you should be here. Speaking of mindset, Colorado has made the bowl game, like I said, but like I've been saying, that is not the mark. Now they're saying it. My thing is, it's a backwards approach, because it's hard to step on your gas, take it off, and then put it back on. It's like anything with momentum, especially if you're going up a hill. And to me, Colorado's going up a hill. They're not going downhill. I mean, there's a lot of things that they're working against. Referees, they've seen what injuries can do to them. There's a lot of things that they're fighting through. And it's not going to be an easy path to give them night games when, they're not quite at their best. And I don't think nobody is, but nobody's not playing 6 out of 8 night games either. Go find them. 2 10 p.m. late games, and neither one of the teams you play or you is on the West Coast. It's just ridiculous. It's overkill. It's unnecessary. But when you look at the fact that you have the team and you say they didn't believe, some people didn't believe. I get that. Coach Prime definitely believe. Maybe impact his belief when he sees certain people don't believe. Maybe he say coaches believe in that. I don't know. I wouldn't be coaching if I didn't believe. I'm sorry. That's the only way I know. Even a losing team should be shooting. Maybe that's old school. Everybody should be shooting for the championship. Now, if it don't happen, it don't happen. It reveals itself. But if you got the ability to do it, that's what you should be shooting for. And I got a problem if you feel you don't, because your belief system can limit. It can limit you in success in life, in sports, and anything, because you're capping yourself. You're capping your own performance. You're capping what you're even striving for, because you don't believe you can get there. And what I don't like about the mindset, especially say you got people around you who don't believe, is if that's the standard, shooting for a bowl game, oh, that's enough. It's only your second year and all that type of stuff. I think that's ridiculous, because if you shoot for the moon, you don't hit it, you land them on the stars. You hear that saying, right? Or shoot for the stars, land them on the clouds, whatever. And I don't fully agree with that, because you got to be relentless in your belief if you want to accomplish a challenging task. You got your own mindset. You got the competition component. You got the media. You got the refs. You got a lot against you. You got history against you. You got to be stern in what you're trying to do. You got to be rigid. And that'll help you overcome those close games. It'll help you not settle. Colorado has a tendency to settle. They play very tough ball when it's a game, or when it's close, and they coming from behind. Shador run you down. Everybody just buckle down. They get a lead, and they'll kind of play with the food. They did it with North Dakota State. They kind of tried to do it with UCF. You were just seeing it here. You seen it with Arizona a little bit, even though they just didn't have nothing in the tank. You saw Cincinnati. They got a quarterback. They'll come back. Look like they coming back. Even though the game been over, it looked like, oh, they just go here, get an onside kick. But you really could have put them away a whole quarter ago. You really could have put them away 2 touchdowns ago. They just scored. They shouldn't even score. You should have scored. But you took your foot off the brakes. And so that's a scary thing, to see a team with that mentality only strive for the bowl game. Even though you say now, oh, that's not it, it's not it. But it's that mind, man. Because you got small goals, you got big goals in life. And when you have the big goals, you shoot really high. And whatever you don't hit, you catch all that anyway. You never aim low, because you're going to get all of that anyway. But when you aim low, then you expect to climb up high, you making it hard on yourself, actually. You know? And it's like, it exposes belief. It's like, for example, if I wanted to run a triathlon, common sense. Why are we talking common sense? Just like to be able to do calculus, you have to know how to add and subtract and multiply. Common sense. That's the steps. But if I'm past those steps, really, that's never my standard. So if I'm training for a triathlon or a marathon, common sense is, if I can't run a lap, that's the first step. But then you have no business striving for that if you haven't accomplished that yet. So you got to be real with yourself from the jump. If I'm striving to do that, I shouldn't be saying, well, let me go and walk a lap first, or run a mile first. You already know you have no business trying to run a marathon when you ain't ran a mile. But if you already accomplished those things, your focus should be on the marathon, the training, the higher performing things to get you ready for that. There's nothing wrong with striving for that, because you know you have mastered the lower level things. The only time you don't shoot for that, if you know you haven't mastered the lower level things. You know, you in your mind, I ain't got the right to be thinking about that. I ain't did this. So you got to be real with yourself when you say, okay, if you're looking at the record or you're looking at your players, you got to be real with yourself and say, I'm just content on just getting this 500, 6 and 6. As long as I meet that 6, I'm good. I ain't really, everything else is gravy. Or you say, look here, I'm going for all that, and if I don't, at least I get that. I'm gonna get the bowl game anyway because I'm shooting for that. You gotta be careful if you already know you got people around you who small-minded. You gotta train them just like everything else on how to be big-minded, big thinkers. You gotta program them differently, because if you got those type of people around you, they would subliminally or consciously take their foot off the gas, or they would be content. I mean, we call that the law of diminishing intent. It's a lot of different laws out there where a person will accomplish something. Like, a person who makes a certain amount of money, if their goal is to make that amount of money and they accomplish it early, psychologists, researchers, they'll show you. And they accomplish, let's say I want to make $100,000 a year and I'm a business person or a salesperson. If I accomplish that in October, I probably can make 120. But since I accomplished it, they'll take off the rest of the year. They will not push themselves. They will sabotage themselves. You can sabotage yourself if you ever get to the point where you think you have arrived. And you ain't got to be conscious of it. You ain't got to admit it. Nobody ain't got to argue with you, because that's your mentality. And it'll show the same way it showed when Colorado get ahead. They don't have the same intensity. When you score 14 points, 7 points, and then you go 7 points, 3. Or you go 14 yesterday, 14, 10, 7, 3. Or the week before, you go 14, 14, 3, 3. So it's showing in your performance that if you're ahead after halftime, you don't score that much. But if you're behind after halftime, you run them numbers up. You run because you're trying to run them down. And it's like some point you gotta train yourself to have something that's not like, I don't know, numbers driven. Maybe if you got the points you need, maybe you need to strive for performance. Like, okay, every play I want to play it to perfection. I want to get this amount of yards. You got to challenge yourself. If being challenged is the only way to really push yourself, then you got to create the challenge. That's why I said Shador and even some others need to find a sports psychologist, because you need to find some non-significant goals that you are able to accomplish to keep you motivated. Because if you already got the lead and that's all you know is I'm just trying to get the lead and I got the lead, I don't know what else to do. I got the lead. And then meanwhile, they trying to hunt you down like you hunt other people down. And it's just creating a situation you should. Well, really, you need to learn what I call the killer instinct and bury them. Some people got the killer instinct. They get off on burying you. They got the lead and they want to bury you. And the burying you part is what drives them. And maybe you're not built that way. Or maybe you need to say, okay, now that we got the lead, let's challenge myself. I'm going to go 10 for 10. I'm going to challenge myself. We're going to convert on this third down just to work on some things. Like I said with Arizona, use that as an opportunity to work on some things. Maybe it started the coaching staff down, because what you don't want to do is lock yourself in that mindset and then you go up against what they call a real dog, a team that's really motivated. Like I see Indiana like that. Like they buried Nebraska. They never take their foot off the gas. And you see when they get in a dog fight, they able to stay in that mind. They ain't got to tap into something that's not in them. And see, my concern was, you're so talented that you can have play and beat people. I saw that at Jackson State. That's what really got them later on in Celebration Bowl, stuff like that. Like, you play some tough games, but them tough games that you play, whether you win or not, it's scary, because you've been gliding past everybody. When it's time to dig in, you're like, what is that? Your digging in is awkward, because you haven't really played a full game. Colorado hasn't played a full game, because they either start off slow and lose or barely win and say, man, if we only played a full game. Or you start off fast, blow the top off the thing, and then you finish in a weird way where even your coach is like, I don't like the way we landed. Because you got so far ahead, you was comfortable. And that doesn't prepare you well for the dog fights. Yeah, you like the dog fights, but you haven't played a full game dog fight. You either played a dog fight where you had made it a dog fight because how you started off and you made mistakes, or you made it a dog fight by not finishing the game strong and they act like they coming back on you and you finish in a weird way. It's like a roller coaster versus Colorado has the ability to blow teams off. Colorado has the ability to take off. And when I say take off and leave. They have the ability to do that, but they haven't developed that mind. And that mind is what they need to, if they do make it to the Big 12, to overcome a team like that. And overcome the refs and all that who may be making sure, oh, y'all ain't going to make this playoff. And you're going to definitely need it when you go play these SEC teams, when you go and play these teams who talent is just as good as you. You know, maybe even better than you in some areas, and you got to tap into that grind. Not the work behind grind, but the longevity of the grind. A full 4/4 of the grind. Not 2/4, not 2.5. This is the time for them to work on that. Because really, they should beat everybody. But it shouldn't make them comfortable. It should even be comfortable with the fact that you continue not to play a full game. You got a week off to figure this thing out. And it all start right here. And that's all of us. That's, like I said, whether we trying to make more money, whether we trying to be more healthy, you know, you set these goals. And most people just don't know how to set goals. They set them low. And they kind of like don't challenge themselves. But they just really don't. They really don't believe enough to even know how high to set the goal. Because they don't believe. And a lot of times people don't accomplish things. It's simply because of that. Their mindset. It's not that the thing is hard. It's that you believe it's hard. You don't want to commit to it. You don't want to deal with the longevity of the challenge. You know, short term is cool. Long term, I avoid it because it's long term. The developmental component. And the hardest thing is the mind and not the physical, because you probably don't inherited that crap. You probably don't been programmed and trained around that crap in your house, in your community, in your culture. Everything has made it where it's harder to do something that really shouldn't be that hard. And maybe you need to surround yourself with other people who can help you or who think differently to push you, because you will never change on your own. You just won't. That's why it's important to surround yourself with people of like minds, surround yourself by people who are even more evolved than you to help you see it's possible. Oh, they did it. Or they pushing you to do it. And you're like, oh, I can do it. But it will never happen if you're always in a comfortable environment. And that's what I don't want with Colorado. Don't be comfortable with mediocre. Don't even keep talking about that crap. You saying it, but mean it. And make sure everybody understand. We have not arrived. We got a whole opportunity for us. Until we max out our opportunity, we don't need to say anything else about the bowl game. All right, we got the bowl game. Don't talk about it no more. News play the game because they really scared of you making the Big 12. They matter of fact, we ain't want y'all to get that. We'll give y'all the bowl game. They don't want you in the Big 12. They don't want you in that playoff. Let's be real. They're doing everything they can. So if anything, let that drive you. If you need to be the villain, let that drive you. Know what's really good. Know what's really going on. I'm not excited for you making the bowl game. They want to convince you to be excited. They want you to settle. Because you look at these rankings, they just ranked you. Congratulations. Them teams in front of you finna lose. They've been losing, and they not far from you record-wise. If you keep winning, they gonna lose. You at a point in your record where you don't play some of the tougher teams. Some of these guys in front of you got at least a couple losses in them, and they already got one. Your record is going to be better than them. All you got to do is win out. It's going to work itself right on out. And even people in your conference. Cincinnati is going to be a problem for the remaining top teams. They don't play BYU, but they certainly play Iowa State, and they certainly play Kansas State. And now they're working in your favor just like Kansas State should have. So you're back in a decent situation. Root on for Cincinnati Bearcats. Hope they do well. They got Iowa State next week. It's going to be interesting because they go to Kansas State the next week. And if they do that, they just gave Colorado a ticket to the Big 12 if they win out. I hope y'all catch that. It's getting interesting, as I said it would. But I'm just Greg. Greg said it. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to y'all real soon.